His last official day with this department was back in 2019 in September. And then we also have another key leadership vacancy with Assistant Chief Goncheski, who retired. I believe his last official day was October 30th of 2020. So we have two key leadership positions that are currently vacant that we feel need to be filled immediately and not held off any further than they already have. That's it. Thank you for your time.
Any questions for Matt? Paul or Leonard?
You guys discussed with the mayor like about budgeting as far as filling those, and chief as far as filling those positions, and as to why they were being delayed or?
Budget-wise, no. I believe that those positions were already filled and now they're vacant, so I would assume that we have more money in the budget, that those positions weren't being filled.
And when you mentioned about deviation, you mean as far as the 50-50 weights on the test?
No, just there were talks in earlier meetings in civil service about not having a written exam for I believe the lieutenant's promotion, that it would just be a Pradco assessment. And we would just ask that there would not be a deviation from past practice, and that all of going forward, whether be it this one or any further promotional assessments, that you do both the written exam as well as Pradco assessment and any other assessments that the commission deems fit.
Thank you.
I'm not sure. Do we have a current, is the lieutenant's list current, or do we need a new test for that?
As far as I understand, we do not have one, and
Okay.
we have not had one in quite some time.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Bob? No? All right, getting to some old business. We have the hiring procedures for civil service positions. I think that's going to be Mike. Big smile on his face already. I was warned that you might not be ready, and that's fine. You know.
Good morning, Commission. So I'm going to actually yield that to our next meeting. We're going to discuss some of this as we move down into new business, a proposal. But as far as hiring process, as we discussed in previous meetings, we need to take a look at our hiring process as it relates to moving forward with the type of candidates that we're getting now and our recruiting around those candidates, and being, able to allow people to take this test and kind of watch over how we're doing it. So I'm going to yield that to our next meeting if possible, so that we can have a clear picture. But some of this will be discussed as we go into the new business in regards to a proposal that I do have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other old business?
Paul? In the minutes from last month, or from January, actually, under miscellaneous, the union and the management was going to talk about being able to take the assessment for the lieutenants rather than the captains, being able to take the assessment when the captains did. Did that happen?
All of the candidates from the captain's test took the assessment, which did include 2 candidates from the previous
Okay.
lieutenant's test.
All right, so they were on that captain's list.
Yeah.
Okay, good, thank you.
Any other further old business? Okay, moving on to new business. Let's look at the police promotional exams for the sergeants and lieutenants. Who wishes to open with that one? Bob? Mike?
I guess I'll start.
Yeah, go ahead. You got pointed to.
Right. So, yes, so the mayor and I had a conversation with Chief in regards to, looking at our sergeants and lieutenants tests. And again, we want to make our testing procedure as fair and consistent across the board as we possibly can. And when I say fair and consistent, I mean that everyone has the opportunity to be promoted when they are eligible to do so. And so what we've taken a look at is the amount of time that someone else, will also be eligible to take this test. And so, what we are proposing is that we do both a sergeant's and lieutenant's test this year, that we will actually move forward with a sergeant's test first. That written test will be done on September 23rd, followed by having the materials ready by July 19th, which gives well above the required time for study materials for that sergeant's test. We would then look to move to have a lieutenant's test take place in November, again allowing everyone who is eligible to take that test. We found that having the test a little earlier leaves out one or two people, and I don't think that's fair, because a month or two later then they become eligible for this exam. And so if we're going to be fair and consistent, let's be fair and consistent across the board. So we propose to move that to November and have that test take place sometime around the second week of November, date to be determined, and I could definitely have that to you gentlemen at our next meeting. Along with that, I guess I'll talk a little bit about the way we want to move forward with the testing for, I'll wait for miscellaneous. Yeah, so that's the proposed timeline for sergeants and lieutenants.
How is that going to be weighted, written test to the assessment?
I have not looked at that as of yet, but I would assume it will be weighted the way we have been done, as it has been done in the past, unless there are changes to that. So I'll take a look at that, Mr. Neese. I have not looked at the weighted portion of that test as of yet, and what the weight's going to look like. And I'll yield to Chief if he knows that information.
It's been done differently in the past. It's been done differently so many different ways in the past. As far as the weights, it's been 50, it's been 730, it's been 80-20. So usually the emphasis is placed on an assessment and not on the written test. So I will leave that up to Michael and Civil Service to determine what they feel is the best course of action for that. I do want to make a couple of clarifications. First of all, Assistant Chief Gacheski officially retired at the beginning of this year. He was on the books until the beginning of this year, so his position has not been vacant 6 months yet. Secondly, in 2014, I believe we did not have a written test for either the Assistant Chief's position or the Lieutenant's test. So that's unprecedented, or not unprecedented, that we've done a test for a management position without having a written test. That being said, the conversation I had with the mayor and with Michael is that I'm going to leave that determination into where it belongs, which is in civil service and the guidance of human resources, and they're capable hands to determine those things. Finally, there seems to be this, I just want to be clear, section 131.03 of the codified ordinances of the city of Twinsburg, which outlines the division of public safety, lists the positions in the police department. If you were to look at that ordinance, you will see the only position that is determined that must be had is the chief of police position. Everything else is classified as determined by the mayor. So occasionally when we have changes in leadership, and we've done this in the past as well, we reassess what type of leadership we need in the department. We reassess the structure of the department to ensure that not only the structure was in the best interest of the residents and of the city of Twinsburg, but for the efficiency of the Twinsburg Police Department. And that's what we're currently doing right now. We're reassessing the structure of the department. I have I will be proposing changes to the structure of the police department that I feel are beneficial to the police department. That includes the elimination of the assistant chief of police position. I don't believe we need that position in the department anymore. But these are the recommendations that I will be making. Any rep to the mayor, any of those recommendations will require council action on it. Ordinances will have to be modified or adopted in order to do those things, if that's the direction we go. It's nice that there are people who believe that, when it comes to personnel decisions, that the chief is the end all be all. I'm not. And we all know that here. Promotions, when it comes to promotions, all I do is make the recommendations to the mayor based on the information presented to me. And then the mayor ultimately is the one who promotes, the position. So, I don't choose the tests, and I won't choose when the tests are given. That is prescribed to you by our ordinances. So I just want to be clear, my role is I make the recommendations. I hope that my recommendations are listened to. I hope that for the most part my recommendations are taken. I've been chief of police for 15 years. I know what's best for the department. I know what's best for the community because of that tenure in this job. And that will always be my focus of what the Twinsburg Police Department does. Focus on first what is best for our residents and how we provide maximum efficient services. So those are my comments. I look forward to these promotions. Promotions are always an exciting time in any police department or fire department because it's a change in the guard. And we have numerous candidates for both of those positions that will be up to the task of really they are the next wave of leadership of the department. It's my time to grow short. It's always fun to watch the officers that you hired reach their potential. And we have a lot of potential in our department. And I'm very excited about that. Those are my comments. Thank you for listening.
Chief, based on your current staffing, what are the minimal requirements for lieutenant and sergeants based upon the amount of officers you have and the population of the Twinsburg?
There are none, Joe. There is no real standard for patrol officers. Police officers, we don't seem to have the clout that fire service has when they can make the determination of, how many firefighters or medics are needed at a national type of average. What we usually fall back on is an old stat that was used by the National Institute of Justice for probably the last 40 years, which says a community should have anywhere from 1.8 to 2 officers per 1,000, which would put us right in the right area. Currently, we're authorized at 35. We're at 34 right now with retiring the Assistant Chief Buchaski in January, and we know we're going to have another retirement this fall. So, but again, there's no hard fast number because I think you have to look at what the community needs and what the community will support when it comes to those things.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, those were the statistics when I started in the 70s. But there was a standard of how many sergeants per patrolman, how many lieutenants per, and I've seen this department, in my opinion, excel in the amount of lieutenants and sergeants versus the actual street patrolman, patrol person, police officer. I don't want to be politically incorrect. So is there any standard with regards to how many lieutenants you need to have based upon how many sergeants you have, based upon how many patrol persons you have?
We do not have one internally, and as far as, again, going back to anything nationally, I don't believe that there is any type of national standard out there that, because every department is generally unique, and you look at what the department needs, And, you know, quite honestly, I mean, when you started back and I started with the department, 25 years ago, we had, I think, 5 sergeants and a lieutenant. And then Chief Frank hired both Joe and I. Chief Frank added the second lieutenant's position probably around 1998, I think, 1999. You know, so we were pretty standard as a chief and 2 lieutenants and 5 sergeants. Now that's been in flux since I've been chief. We've made changes as we needed to for various reasons. So, you know, when my proposal for reorganization comes up for review, it's based on, you know, I take that into account administratively, what we need, supervisory, out the road, what we need. So I do look at those things, but there's no standard.
Leonard, anything?
I have a question. When you spoke about the percentage of the tax share per resident, is that street patrol, or is it all inclusive of detectives, you know, sergeants? When you look at those numbers,
Well, again, it's such a general recommendation, and generally, it's a recommendation. It's based on the number of police officers for a police department. You know, that being said, I mean, we do specialize. We have the detective bureau. We have 2 officers in the school that also double as our community services bureau. We've been at 35 officers for 20 years, I believe. So, you know, and again, that's something else to reassess. We should be getting results from last year's census. We'll see what our population looks like. We'll look at our call volume. We'll take all those things into consideration, you know, when it comes to the recommendation of how many police officers, you know, do we need for the city.
thanks, Chief.
Cool.
Any other comments? Thank you, Chief. Any other new business that pop up? Chief Morgan, you got nothing coming up? We're all good.
Nothing currently. I think Michael's going to address things as.
There's Smiling Mike again.
So we're looking at a firefighter's entrance exam. Currently, the current list will expire May 16th. And so we wanted to just present to the commission that we're looking at possibly moving forward with an entrance exam for our firefighters. And I'll add something to new business in regards to some other things that we're thinking about as well. I did talk to Chief Morgan about a lateral transfer process. I don't think it's something that the city has really looked into doing before. But again, at this point, we need to really look at every avenue possible. It's time for us to think outside of the box when it comes to recruiting and hiring and getting candidates or getting people even interested into working for Twinsburg. And I think that this is the right time to do that. We are, I would say, over the hump of the pandemic. And so now it's really going to lean on us on how we're going out and looking at the right candidates to bring them into our city to work for our safety forces. So that information, we'll have dates and things presented to you at the next meeting. But I wanted to just put it on your radar that firefighter entrance exam will be coming up shortly, either right after the current list expires or very close to it. So.
Yeah. Well, Mike, you know, I remember Chief had brought us some language about lateral movement, you know. Could you, if it's possible, I'd just like to see the pool of, you know, like over the past couple of years of our candidates that applied, to kind of give us something to look at, some of the possible advantages or disadvantages of allowing lateral movement, you know, into our city.
Absolutely.
Anything else for Mike?
You're looking for more discussion on that issue now or at a subsequent meeting?
like maybe by the next meeting, just to kind of see, you know, like, to give an example of like applicants that just kind of didn't qualify, period. You know what I'm saying? It kind of give us, you know, an opportunity to see, well, how would be more beneficial to the departments to allow lateral movement to expedite, you know, the hiring process, the filling positions. So, you know, pooling out, going through candidates that, you know, don't pass a drug exam, or not to discriminate, but, you know, experience is always better than after the train, or, I mean, give us something to see, you know, as far as someone that's previously trained, how much the city may have to invest in bringing in a new candidate, you know, just things like that.
Absolutely, and I'll tell the commission that I have ran lateral transfer processes before, specifically with deputy sheriffs, and I think that it is, you know, a good process for us to look at. There will be some tweaking in regards to how we bring those candidates on board, especially what you talked about, Mr. Taylor, in regards to moving through certain parts of the process a little quicker than others, and really, you know, talking through those advantages and disadvantages of doing that. So I'll definitely have that prepared for the commission at our next meeting.
Just to clarify, I'm sorry, Joe. Just to clarify, we're talking theoretically on that, right? Not, because Leonard, you mentioned a list of candidates, and I don't know that we have accepted any lateral applicants in the past, have we?
We haven't. I'm wondering if what he's mentioning is how, like, for example, what success rate we had of hiring off the current list. Is that what you were?
You know, people who apply like online or bring in applications, you know, not, because lateral, we weren't talking about promotional part, we just talking about patrol, right?
Yeah, that'd be at the firefighter patrol level.
Right, so people off the street who, you know, apply versus, you know, just over the last couple, I know we had a couple exams over a couple of years that, like I say, maybe the percentage that didn't even make it through the first round of, you know, the application process. So we can kind of see what it's like to someone that we know that will be well beyond that part, but a lateral movement. Because they would have to have the credentials and all already to.
For example, the number of people that applied versus the number of people that eventually pass the test and end up on a list.
Exactly.
How many do you lose there?
Exactly.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, that's it. That's great.
Any further discussion on that? All right, any other new business? Mike, you got some more stuff?
Yeah, just one more thing. So, you know, we're talking about, you know, again, bringing on qualified candidates, opening up our pool. And so I want to present to the commission that, you know, as far as police officer exam, we're looking at doing what's called, or utilizing what's called the National Testing Network. I'm not sure if gentlemen have heard of them before. It's a network that has a base of over 75,000 candidates who take a national accredited test for either part of the safety force. I've talked this through with Chief Noga. I've not spoken with Chief Morgan, but and I don't want this to be a surprise to him. But I was pushing this more on the police side to begin with, as kind of the let's kind of see how it works. And so, as a candidate, you would go through the National Testing Network through a written exam with them. Once you pass that exam, you would then fill out our application and begin to go through our process. And so what it does is it opens up our ability to reach more candidates. It allows the candidate to take a test and send their scores to specific cities or departments. So if I'm a candidate and I take this test, I can send my scores to 5-6 different departments that my scores would then be looked at without having to sit for each individual exam that comes from each department. And so we're looking at piloting this with the police department. And so I'm happy to, answer as many questions as I can about the network, as well as send information to the three of you in regards to, who they are, what they do, and how all of this rolls out. So I just wanted to present that information as well. So.
We did try something similar to this years ago with Cuyahoga Community College. They were doing regional testing for physical agility, and then they had started a program doing the same thing with written testing. Unfortunately, their candidate base was incredibly small. I think a lot of that had to do with the price of taking the test, and it was basically localized to our region. This new way of doing it opens us up nationally, which we have to, as Michael said, we've got to be thinking outside the box when it comes to finding candidates. Every police department in the United States right now is struggling to find candidates. And that's not even taking diversity into account either. Everybody's just struggling to find candidates to get people who want to come work in our profession. So we need to have a mechanism to get to as many candidates as possible. What this would do is it would eliminate candidates having to come and sit in one location for a test. I was doing research on this. Worthington, Ohio is where I picked this up from, and was very excited and came right up to Mike's hospital. Hey, I think we got something here. But they have a time frame where they open up, testing with the testing service. So you can sit for the exam online anytime between March 1st through March 31st. So the candidate can take the test at their convenience. And I think Michael could talk more about the proctoring and the test security because they do that very well from what I've seen. But it just makes things a little easier on the candidate to take that initial entrance exam. So that's why I was excited about the possibilities of going this route.
So they do have a virtual exam, which I think is, at this moment in our lives, is very popular, that has a live proctor. They have eliminated barriers to have individuals coming in to take, the test. I think one of the big things is that it's not only an accredited test nationally, but they also have the candidates do 2 self-assessments, a public safety self-assessment and a group bias and cultural sensitivity assessment, which I think are important as well. The process that happens is the candidate will take the written exam, then they will begin, based on their scores, the formal application process. They'll then meet with a panel, then have their background investigation done. They'll go through the polygraph. So none of our other civil service rules or anything like that will change. None of our civil service rules will change in regards to how we bring these candidates on. It's really just the beginning part of the written exam and opening it up to over 75,000 people, if you want to look at it to the max. Cities such as Pepper Pike, Toledo has used this network. Cleveland is currently involved with this network. Bowling Green is currently involved with this network. So there's a slew of different departments that are utilizing this network. And again, what it does is allows the candidate to sit for one test and send their scores to several different departments. Because as we know, everybody's not a test taker. And then depending on the day that you had or started out, your test score may fluctuate based on the beginning of that day. And so where you go to one city and you test high, something may happen, and the next time you go and your morning's all thrown off, and you go to take the test at another city and your scores are thrown off. So this allows us to have this one score, and it allows a candidate to kind of do a couple of different things. And I think it'll be really advantageous for us as a city, because again, we're looking at opening up, how we're doing things, how we're bringing on people, how we're recruiting, how we're sourcing folks. And that goes into, not only looking at our diversity initiative, but looking at it more than just a racial thing, but a social economic thing. This test is $25. It costs $12 if you want to send your scores to more than 3 departments. So there'll be an additional $12 for each additional department after 3. But they also provide vouchers or waivers to the candidates that then the city will be billed for. So if someone comes up and says, look, I just financially cannot afford to take this test because of financial hardship, that should not stop someone, because that person may be a great candidate for our position. And so we have now the opportunity to say, take it, here's the voucher, and we'll pay for it. So a lot of different things in regards to this. And again, I'll send that information out to the commission so you have a chance to really review what they are, what it looks like, and how things will be ran in regards to that.
Is there a fail-safe procedure to assure that the person submitting the score was the actual person that took the test?
Yes, they actually have a live proctor that, as I talk with the rep, she says that they have the candidate sign something that gives them some sort of access to their computer, where if something pops up on their computer or they see anything outside of the exam, that they immediately stop the exam and that person has failed. So it is a fail-safe.
Thank you. Any questions on this?
Yeah, just a quick question. From the, per se at the end of the test, what's the expiration period? Or how long is that result good for?
The test is good for 1 year. Yes, and so there are 2 different memberships we can look at. There's what's called an annual membership, where the position will stay up continuously for that entire year, which we know does not fit our civil service rules. And so we would have to go to what's called a short-term membership. So it is still a one-time membership fee, but we can open and close that position as many times as we want during that year. But again, based on our civil service laws, we have to have an end date to establish an eligibility list, which we can also monitor in time. So it's not like we have to wait for that to be established. We can monitor our eligibility list in time, and then it can be exported in a CSV Excel file and presented to the commission. So.
All right, any other new business out on the floor? You done, Mike?
I'm done.
I want to make sure. You got a lot of paperwork in front of you there. Okay. Any miscellaneous discussion or business you'd like to discuss and bring up or talk about? Nothing, huh? Mike, Paul? All right, well, we do have a meeting coming up in April on the 8th. I thank everyone for attending today's meeting. Have a great, safe day. We'll adjourn. What is it? I don't know, 8, whatever time it is. Sandy can look at the clock. I can't twist that far anymore. All right, thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
We adjourn our
Okay.
civil service.
A second.
I'm not just doing that.
Mr. Gatsby?
Yes.
Dees?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yeah.
Motion passes 3-0.
Now it's official. Thank you for attending.